2022 was one of the worst years of my life, but it was also the best year of my life. I lost my earthly father, but it was also the year I found my heavenly father, Jesus Christ, and I'm ready to follow him and get baptized. I can do all things through my Lord and Savior.
Hey everyone, it's Rochelle and welcome back to my channel. It has been a while since I've actually filmed a video. It's been almost a month since I posted my last video. A lot of my videos are pre-recorded, so it's actually been a while since I sat down, film a video, and talk to you guys. I don't do a lot of talking videos, mainly because I'm a little bit on the shy side. I don't know if you guys already know that, but sometimes when I'm talking on camera, I don't know why I get a little nervous, even though there's absolutely no one here in the room with me, and I've been doing this YouTube thing for a very long time, but sometimes I still get a little nervous talking. But the Lord is with me today, so here goes, guys. So I wanted to share my testimony with you guys and how I became a follower of Jesus Christ. It's been really, really heavy on my heart that I do this video today. I feel like I literally cannot film any video, like any other video, but this video first. So this is my very first video of the year. A lot has happened in 2022, guys. A lot of bad, a lot of good, and the Lord is with me, so he's literally guiding me. Like, I just want to share with you guys what's really been going on. So if you're new to the channel, hello, what's up? I'm Rochelle. My channel name is Miss Rosh Posh. 2022, I was going through it. And, obviously, you guys know I'm a private person. I don't really talk about a lot of stuff. I don't really share a lot of stuff on the internet. That's just never been me. And I keep things to myself. And I will just come on here and act like everything is fine, when in reality, everything wasn't fine. I'm in a really good space right now. Very happy. Things are amazing. I am on this journey and I just want to share it with you guys. So I'll start off by saying that, I grew up in a Christian home. I'm from Jamaica originally. Some of you guys know that, some of you have no clue. And I moved to Canada when I was 13. And just like most kids that grew up in a Christian home, I'd go to church, every Sunday, Sunday school, do the whole thing. And I'll be honest with you, when I was going to church and Sunday school, I did not have a relationship with Christ. I didn't really know who Christ was. I just didn't know. I would just go to church because that's what my grandma wanted me to do, just go to church. Not saying I didn't like church. I enjoy going to church, but I just didn't I didn't have that personal relationship with God. I just didn't have that. So we're gonna fast forward from Jamaica, and I moved to Canada when I was 13 to live with my mom. So my mom lived in Jamaica with me until I was 6 years old. And then she left Jamaica to come to Canada because she wanted to give me a better life. My family, we were poor. We were dirt poor. And even though they were dirt poor, I was very happy. I was a happy kid. I didn't realize we were poor, to be honest with you. I didn't realize how poor we were until I came here. And then my grandma pretty much raised me from age 6 to 13. So at 13 years old, I didn't see my mom for 6 years. And I'm not gonna get into too much about that, why I didn't see her. It's not like she didn't want to see me, she just was not in a position to see me. So I'm not gonna get into that too much. So yeah, my mom came back to Jamaica when I was 13, and that's when she brought me back to Canada. Now, my life in Canada, I would say it was completely different. Obviously a bit of culture shock, and things were just completely different from how I was raised back home. Church was not really a thing anymore. I cannot even tell you that I went to church with my mom. So we didn't go to church. I didn't have that, Sunday school, going to church anymore. And again, growing up in Jamaica, church was a huge part of my life. Even the school that I went to, there was prayers in school, worship music in school. That's the type of school I went to back home in Jamaica. So coming to Canada was a completely different environment for me. 13, I'm a teenager now, so, I'm getting older, and I'll be honest, I was a rebellious girl. I was rebellious, okay? My daughter's probably watching this. She already know all this stuff because she knows my testimony and everything, but I was very rebellious. I would smoke weed, drink, do all that stuff, having sex. So I was doing all the things that I shouldn't be doing. As far as my relationship with God, that was literally non-existent. There was no church life anymore. There was no saying my prayers every night before I go to bed, all that stuff was gone. Like with my grandma, she would have us saying the Lord's Prayer every night before bed, and I knew it word for word. When I came to Canada, because I wasn't saying it anymore, I forgot all about that stuff. I forgot about church, I forgot about prayers. I didn't even pick up my Bible, not once. I'm gonna fast forward a few years later, and we're gonna get to 19 years old. When I was 19, I got pregnant, and that's with my first daughter. If you guys are familiar with my channel, then you've met my daughter plenty of times on my channel, and I do have a very detailed video talking about my teen pregnancy experience, and it was very rough, very hard. Her dad and I, we didn't stay together very long. We broke up when she was probably around 2 years old. It didn't work out, but we remained friends, for the sake of our child, and he's very much involved in our life, always been involved in our life, so there's that. And, I lived with my mom for a bit, and then we just could not get along. My mom and I did not really have a great relationship. I will say that. We didn't have a good relationship. We couldn't get along. We couldn't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, and she ended up kicking me out, and I had to get a place and everything. Obviously, I couldn't really afford anything because I didn't really have a good paying job at the time. So I was living in government housing. It was really, really bad neighborhood. So I'm sorry, I get really emotional when I think back how things used to be and, just where we are now. It gets me really emotional because the struggle was real. It was really real. There's times when I didn't have money to buy food. Just didn't have enough food for both of us. So sometimes I would have to miss meals just so she could eat. Luckily, this whole YouTube thing happened, and honestly, I just feel like everything was God. Everything was just God. We were able to move out of the bad neighborhood that we were living in, but I was struggling when it comes to anxiety, depression. I had a lot of trauma that happened throughout my childhood, and it stick with me. When I'm depressed, I had bad habits, I would drink. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I would find comfort in alcohol and food. I'm an emotional eater. So these are things that I would do, emotionally eat and just drink. And I'd find comfort in that, not knowing that I could find comfort in God. Back to when we moved out of the bad neighborhood. I was able to move out of the apartment that we were living in because of YouTube. Thankfully, I'm super grateful to you guys for that. Things were starting to go really good in my life, but I felt like there was always that missing link. I always felt like something was missing in my life, and a part of me always knew it was God. I knew it, but honestly, I just felt like my sins were too great that I couldn't just give God my problem and say, I'm sorry, here you go. I just felt like I just couldn't give God my problems. And even though things were getting good in my life, I was not really in a happy place. Money was good. I can provide for my child now. But inside, I felt empty. I just felt really empty and unhappy, depressed most times, At 1 minute I'm good, next minute I just felt really down, really depressed, really sad. I know why now. So I'm going to tell you guys how I felt like God was working in my life. So the week when we were moving out of our apartment, the old apartment, so I called an Uber, and we lived in a bad neighborhood. I don't think that's why they canceled on me, but they canceled. So I called an Uber, and the first one canceled, and then the second canceled, and then the third Uber didn't cancel, and it was a female driver. I say female because this was in the early days of Uber, and every Uber driver that I ever had was a male, and I got a female Uber driver, and I was like, oh, lady. I was going far distance. Like this was going to be a long Uber drive. And that lady, I feel like God sent her to me, because I'm in the Uber with her and we're talking, and she's like, oh, you're young. Do you have kids? I'm like, yeah, I have a daughter. And she's like, are you married? I'm like, no, I'm not married. And, you know, I don't know why I started telling about my dating life. So I was telling her about my dating life and, you know, how crappy it was at the time, like not really meeting anybody. I've gone on dates. I've had boyfriends after my daughter's father. I've had boyfriends, but, you know, the relationships, they never really worked out. Like my relationships would be like maybe 2 years, 3 years. They just never worked out. And I know that was never God's plan. That's why they never worked out. But anyways, this is what she said to me. I told her that, you know, I lived in this neighborhood that you picked me up from, but, you know, we're moving to a really good neighborhood and, you know, things are looking up. And she said to me, you should pray to God and give thanks to God for everything He's doing in your life. And she's like, you should pray for the type of husband that you want. Like, I wasn't thinking about a husband at the time, you know? And she was just like, yeah, you should pray for the type of man you want, type of husband you want. And the reason why she said that, because, you know, she said she never prayed for the husband that she has. And I hate to say it, but like she got really personal with me, and the type of husband that she has he wasn't a very good husband. But she's like, I prayed for everything in my life. Like I prayed, you know, God has blessed me in so many ways, but the one thing I never prayed for was that husband. Child, she was just telling me all her business. And I was just like, okay, that's some good advice, you know? Anyways, that same night, we moved into our new apartment. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take her up on that. I'm going to pray to God, give thanks. And I'm going to pray for the husband that I want. And let me tell you, I was very specific with my prayer. I'm not going to go into too much details about the prayer because I don't remember everything, to be honest with you. But the two things that I do remember is I pray to God to send me somebody that I would love, because I had issues like in relationship where I just couldn't really love that person, you know, love that person back. Like I had issues with that. And like I told God, send me a husband that I can love. So that was one specific thing in my prayer. And then the other thing in my prayer is I said to God, please send me a Christian man. That's what I wanted. Because I'll be honest with you, the type of guys I was dating, no, they were not it, okay? So I was like, you know what? I want to try something new. Send me a Christian husband. I did not know what I was praying for. I just knew I grew up in the church, and my great-grandfather, may he rest in peace, he died when I was 14, and I was very, 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 very close with him. And he was like just a great man, and he was really great to my grandmother, my great-grandmother. So I was like, that's the type of husband I want. I want a Christian husband. A year later, still out here on the dating scene, and I was on Tinder. A lot of you guys know the story of how I met my husband. You guys know the story behind that. And he was my high school sweetheart. He was like my first boyfriend, my first love, everything. And we broke up. Things didn't work out. You know, like a lot of high school kids, things don't always work out. But, you know, I always still had a lot of love for him. Like, I always still had that thing for him. Like, what if it ever worked out? What if we ever, you know, cross paths again? Whatever. And I just happened to be on Tinder. Yeah, Tinder. We crossed paths and, you know, we went out on a date. Now, the day when he came to pick me up for our date, I got in the car, and mind you, I have not seen this guy in like 15 years, okay? So what are the chances of us getting back together 15 years later? I think it was like 15, 16 years later. That was God. So I got in the car with him, and when I got in the car, immediately I noticed something was different about him. For one, he was listening to the audio Bible, or it was a sermon, and I can't remember what was playing in the car. But the first thing I thought to myself was, God, I know I asked you for a Christian husband, but I did not ask you for this one. And I say that now because, again, we dated in high school. It didn't end well, you know, like my husband was a little player back in the day, okay? I mean, so was I, but he was the player. But still, you know, I was just like, wow, you're different. To make a long story short, Chris and I got married, And, you know, we have a beautiful daughter, Margot, and he's an amazing dad, amazing stepdad to my oldest daughter as well. So he's the one who actually started bringing me to church. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned to you guys before that my husband is a born-again Christian. He's the one who started bringing us to church. And I was not doing any of those things with my daughter. Like, I wasn't taking her to church or going to church myself. Like, the only time we would go to church was literally like if it's Easter or something like that. That was it. You know, we didn't really go to church. Didn't read the Bible to her. Nothing. None of that stuff. So yeah, this is all new to her. Even though I was going to church, I didn't feel like I was getting any closer to God. I didn't feel like I had a personal relationship with God whatsoever. I felt like I was literally just coming to church and just doing my part and saying thank you for, you know, everything that I have in my life. So yeah, that was my idea of getting to know the Lord. That was it for me. There was no personal relationship there. And so something I do not talk about a lot is I struggle with anxiety, depression, and just fear. There was always that empty feeling like something was missing. You know, I always had that empty feeling that something was missing. And deep down inside of me, I knew that Jesus was that missing link. I knew it. Like, I just knew. I felt like I had everything. A husband that loves me. I was blessed with 2 children. And I was still so unhappy. I was so empty on the inside. I felt depressed. I felt sad. I just felt really empty, really lost. Like, I felt completely lost. And, you know, it was causing a lot of problems in my life, to be honest with you. So last year, when you guys seen me MIA from YouTube or Instagram, it's because I felt so down. And I could not bring myself to filming videos, posting content, because I just felt really empty, really down on the inside. And I knew something was missing in my life. Like, I just knew something was missing, and I just did not want to be on here. I don't want to fake the funk. That's not the type of person that I am. It was starting to cause problems for my daughter and my husband. So my oldest daughter, Margot's too young. So yeah, it was starting to cause problems in our lives. Because I was always so sad and depressed. Like, I was always angry. I had a lot of anger inside of me. Again, I had a lot of anger because of a lot of things that happened throughout my life. So there was a lot of anger just eating me up on the inside, like literally consuming me. And I would take on my anger and my frustration on them. Thank God he's so patient. Thank God they both are. The struggle got so real that I started drinking because I wanted alcohol to take away the pain. I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic, because I would literally have I would have a drink or 2 a day and nothing over that. And I was never like drunk or anything, but the alcohol just made me feel so much better. I thought it made me feel better. But to be honest with you, it was just making me more sad and more depressed. And I just felt I got to a point where it's like I wanted to have a drink. I needed that drink to feel better, like just to cope. You know, I'm a social drinker. Well, not anymore, but I'm a social drinker. So I'm the type of person, if we go to a restaurant, like, you know, I'll have my glass of wine or 2. If we go to a party, you know, I'll have my alcohol, you know. But I've never been the type of person to daily drink. Like, that was never my thing. And honestly, I was just like, if I don't stop this right now, this is going to turn into a problem. So I was just like, no, I can't do this. I can't be having, you know, a couple of drinks a day. Like, I can't be doing that. Like, I can see this turning into something else. So I'm like, this has to stop. And I told my husband, you know, like, I think that I need help. We need help. My depression and my anger was just, I felt like it was just too much, and it was taking a toll on us. So I was like, I think we need help. And he's like, you know, we can get help, definitely. But he said to me that I think what you need is Jesus. And I kid you not, I was angry when I heard that. I didn't show my anger, but I was so angry on the inside when he said that. I was like, my problems are bigger than Jesus. That's what I thought. And you know what? Deep down inside, now, like, looking back at all of this, I knew that's what it always was. I knew it was always Jesus. I knew that. So by the way, guys, this was how all happening last year, just to give you guys a clue to when this was going on. So this was last year. You know, he said, what you really need is Jesus. I was just like, no, here he goes with the Jesus thing. And I was like, maybe I'll give this Jesus a try. So I started watching YouTube sermons. That's where I started first. I didn't start on the Bible. I started watching YouTube sermons first. And I'd watch so many sermons. And especially when I would film my hair videos. When I'd film my hair videos, a lot of times that's what I would be listening to. I'd be listening to sermons after sermons after sermons. And I didn't feel any closer to God. But it's crazy because I think God was planting that seed. I really do. I was still, suffering, still feeling the way that I was feeling. The alcohol thing hasn't fully gone away. Like the drinking, during the day, I stopped doing that. But I still look forward to when we go out and I'd have like drinks. I still look forward to that. So yeah, so there was that. So yeah, I was trying to get closer to God. I was trying to, feel what he feels, And this is really hard to talk about. But March 16th of this year, I got the worst phone call that I could have ever gotten. It was 8 p.m. and I got a phone call from my grandmother. She lives in Jamaica. My grandma never calls me at 8 p.m. ever. So right away when I saw the phone ringing, I knew right away that it was not good news. I picked up the phone and it wasn't my grandmother on the phone. It was actually my aunt Kimberly. She was on the phone and she's like, I have some bad news to tell you. And when I got on the phone, first of all, when I heard my aunt on the phone, I was kind of like, why are you on my grandma's phone? Like, what do you do on my grandma's phone? Because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I hope it's nothing that has to do with my grandmother. First thing I said to her, where's Ruby? Is she okay? That's my grandma's name, Ruby. She said, no, she's fine. She's okay. She said that I have some bad news to give you about your dad. She said, I think your dad has been killed. And I was like, what? I was out running errands, by the way. I wasn't even at home. So I literally burst out in the store. I was with my husband. We were shopping. And I burst out in the store and burst out crying. And she said she'd call me back in a few minutes. And I was like, you don't call someone and tell them that. Anyways, I was about to call my dad's phone, but then I was like, I don't want to call his phone because what if he doesn't pick up the phone, then I'm gonna really freak out. So I don't know why I texted him. I texted him, I'm like, are you okay? What are you doing? And I didn't get a response. Then my aunt called me back and she said, yeah, it's your dad. And I was just like, that was not the news I was expecting to hear. So, yeah, my dad was murdered. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. They never caught them. And 7 people were injured that day and 3 people were killed. My dad was one of them. I don't know why I put on makeup today. I should have not put makeup on, okay? Because I'm a hot mess. I don't really want to talk about this too much, but so that's what happened in March of 2022. And, that kind of changed things a lot in my life. I really started to think about death and life, like you can literally be here today and just gone tomorrow with absolutely no warning. With no warning. It breaks my heart because I haven't seen my dad in a very long time. He lives in Jamaica. We haven't seen each other in a very long time, but we would always talk on the phone. He didn't get a chance to meet his second granddaughter. He met my oldest, but he never got a chance to meet Margot. My dad actually used to send me Bible verses all the time. He'd always trying to send me Bible verses to get closer to God. And I would just read them, but not really thinking anything of it. So that's pretty much when I kind of went MIA on the internet for a bit. I know some of you guys noticed, some of you guys didn't notice, but I got messages on Instagram, my DM. A lot of you guys asked me, where have you been? What's going on? And yeah, I went MIA. Then I came back and I didn't say anything because it was too painful to talk about. It's still painful to talk about, like just how everything happened. It's still painful to even think about it. So fast forward to August. I'm still trying to get closer to God. I'm still here watching all these YouTube sermons, and I decided one day that I'm gonna buy a Bible and start reading my Bible. Mind you, we had Bibles in the house. My excuse to not reading the Bible is, the texts are too small. I can't read these. I need to get a bigger text Bible. So I did. I got a Bible and I just started reading it. And, the stories were fascinating. But I still didn't feel that connection. I still didn't feel that. given everything that happened, you know, I was already falling apart. I was already feeling sad, already feeling depressed. And then what happened with my dad, even more sadness. But in August, everything changed. Everything changed in August of 2022. So, like I said, 2022 was a heartbreaking year for me. But that year also was the biggest blessing in my life. And August 2022, I was in my daughter's bedroom and I was putting her down to sleep. And something in me just said, you need to pray. You know, guys, and at the time I was still feeling down. I was still feeling depressed about everything. And I was like, just pray and give Jesus all your problems. Just say, here it is, God. Here it is. And I started praying. And I prayed like I've never prayed before. I asked God to forgive me for all my sins. I asked Jesus to come into my life that night. Just come into my life and fix me. I prayed to Jesus to take this pain away and fix me because I don't want this pain anymore. By the way, these are not sad tears, just so you know. These are the happy tears. And that night when I was praying, I felt like somebody was holding me. Like I literally felt like my body just felt so hot. Like I felt like this heat came over my body and I felt like I was being hugged. And I was just like, is this my imagination? Like, you know? And I put my daughter down to sleep. She was still in my hand when I was praying, by the way. I put her down in her crib to sleep. And, you know, after the prayer was over, I didn't really feel anything special, right? I don't know what is up with me and Ubers, but the next day I was in an Uber, guys, and something was different. Something was different about me. I look outside the window, guys, and the sky was so blue. The sky looked different. It looked like I have never seen it ever before. The trees look like I've never seen it before. Like everything just looks so new. And I burst out crying in the car because for the first time in my life, I was like, God is real. I was like, God is real and I can see his work. I can see his work in everything. And I burst out crying. And then all of a sudden I saw a vision of Jesus on the cross, covered in blood. And I burst out into tears because for the first time in my life, I felt conviction. I felt so much conviction. All my sins of my past literally came at me that day. So even though I felt so much conviction, I felt all my sins coming back at me. I felt like God loves me. I felt like a love that I've never, ever felt before. And I was just like, I felt this peace, you know, I felt this peace and I felt so much love, like he died on the cross for my sins. Like that's what I felt that day. And ever since that day, like everything changed. Everything changed. The anxiety, the depression, everything changed. I feel so at peace. And I just had the desire to walk with Christ, you know, pray, read my Bible. Like that desire just came upon me. My desire to drink alcohol completely left. Guys, I stopped drinking. I quit drinking. Like I don't drink anymore. Like Jesus brought so much peace and joy into my life. He literally fixed my relationship with my daughter, with my husband. Like they literally saw me going from a depressing, sad, angry mess to like a completely different person overnight. I'm not saying I'm perfect at all, because Lord knows I am not. But honestly, I'm just on this walk with Christ, this beautiful journey with Christ, and I love it. I love it here. I really love it here. That's pretty much my testimony. I'm kind of sorry it was all over the place. I really am. But yeah, I just really wanted to share that with you guys because I feel like I just could not post any video until I posted this one. So yeah, that's my testimony, and that's how I became a follower of Jesus Christ. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I know it was very different and I know it was kind of an emotional mess. So yeah, I'll see you guys in another video. very soon, because I'm gonna be consistent. Please comment down below and let me know what you guys want me to post on my channel. Let me know what you guys want to talk about, because I do want to do more chit chat videos with you guys. So yeah, let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll see you guys in another video very, very soon. I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for watching. I really, really, really appreciate you guys. Bye.